last place. As Oriole fans said goodbye to a losing season, they also said goodbye to a great manager. Earl Weaver is retired for the second time. Tonight the question is, who will replace him? Many are speculating that Cal Ripken Sr. will get the job. Ripken is the Orioles' third base coach and has been with the Oriole organization for 30 years. The question will finally be answered tomorrow morning. The team has scheduled a 10 o'clock press conference to announce a new manager. John Saunders and Scott Garcelle will have more on the Orioles' final game and Earl's replacement coming up later on Sports Extra.
Let's finish the baseball season in last place. The O's lost this afternoon to the Tigers 6-3. And it was the last game for manager Earl Weaver. Number 4 received a standing ovation from the crowd in his last game before retirement. Even the umpires were smiling, possibly because Earl won't be arguing with them anymore. Tomorrow, the Orioles are expected to announce that Cal Ripken Sr. will be the new manager. Chris Thomas will have more on this tonight in
To Earl Weaver for the second time.
The fire, I think, went out sometime in August, maybe July.
First part
something
August.
like that,
Yeah,
right?
Maybe April.
Oh, boy.
We got a lot to do tonight, so let's get right to it. A lot to talk about. Let's start with the Sunday Sports Extra headlines.
The longest season ends as loyal Oriole fans say goodbye to Earl. Tomorrow morning, his replacement will be named. John Saunders reports on the final game and has an exclusive interview with Eddie Murray on his troubled season.
Trying to bury the worst season in the club's history. Tomorrow morning at 10, Cal Ripken Sr. will be named the new Oriole manager. Earl Weaver was asked if he'd be there. No, he said, Rip has waited 30 years for me to shut up. After today's game, Rip appeared itchy for the official word.
I'm getting to a point now where maybe I'm getting a little anxious to find out. And I guess that the only reason I would say that is because now it's a realization that the year is over.
So Earl waves goodbye and heads for the first tee in Miami, a most miserable finish to a brilliant career, but not Weaver, Connie Mack, McGraw, or Stengel could have scored with this bunch. Since August 6th, the Orioles won 14 and lost 42. This one of the few bright spots in a dark summer. Jim Traber with a home run here, his 13th. He was the newcomer of the year. The MVP named today for the Orioles this year, Don Ossie. Cal Ripken was second. Darnell Coles with a homer here for the Tigers, his 20th. The entire Detroit infield, Evans, Whitaker, Trammell, Coles, and Parrish all hit at least 20. First time that's happened since 1940. 6-3 the final today. The Orioles finished 73 and 89. Now tomorrow's managerial announcement, the first piece of a complicated puzzle to put the O's back together again. Another pressing item could be the status of a disgruntled superstar. John Saunders says the possibility exists that Weaver's last day in Oriole Orange may have also been Murray's.
4 years ago, 50,000 plus said goodbye to Earl Weaver. This year there were only 18,000 there, but at times they seemed just as loud. The memories of '86 are bitter, but they can't tarnish the career.
There's a lot of memories here. Now I've got a few bad ones. Next year when I drive into Baltimore, and I will be coming up to Baltimore, probably when the green beans are ready for picking, and then again late mid-August when the tomatoes get red, because there's nothing like Maryland homegrown tomatoes. But at any rate, when I drive in, along with some great memories, now there'll be some disappointments that you can think about.
They all agree it wasn't an Orioles-type year. Losing was bad enough, but controversy plagued the team. At the top of the list, Eddie Murray's demand to be traded. Eddie feels giving your best on the field is no longer enough.
Well, it's gotten to a point where I don't think it counts what you do on the field anymore. I mean, they want more than that, and I can't give more than that. I mean, you know, I do interviews the way I want, and what it makes me feel comfortable. I mean, you know, like I said, I might talk to you today or 2 days in a row, and I might not talk to you for 3 days, but that's just to go out there and continue to do what I do best, which is to play a game of baseball out there on the field. And it's gotten to be a big issue, I think, off the field more so, you know, what he's going to do.
Murray still led the team in average and RBIs, despite missing a month and playing most of the season injured.
Well, that was one of the reasons why I think I got a little upset, because you go out there and you play hurt and you do the best you can to try and get people home. I mean, there's no way I couldn't hit balls out of the ballpark in batting practice. And, you know, and I still went out there and played with my hand, but it sort of seemed unappreciative, you know, and it just got to a point where, you know, you felt like you were going out there doing the best you can for nothing, you know, and it wasn't appreciated.
The Orioles, to a man, are happy to see this season come to a close. After all, it's the most disappointing season in the history of the Orioles franchise. But they all agree tomorrow's another day. In fact, tomorrow, Cal Ripken will be named the Orioles' new manager, although he's not quite ready to admit it.
There has been no one come and tell me anything at this particular time, and I have to wait either till tomorrow or the next day or the following day or whatever before I know what's going on.
What's going on will be announced tomorrow, and there's no doubt Cal Ripken wants to manage with Eddie Murray a part of his team. John Saunders for Sports Expert.
All right, it'll be anything but a dull off-season in Birdland. Strike up the Dixieland Band, our next stop.
And it'll take that long for some die-hard Oriole fans to forget 1986.
Well, that's right, and I think I'll be able to talk management into sending us down early next year because so many things are going to need to be done.
Chris always does a lot of investigative reporting.
I would think the week after Christmas would be early enough.
January, March, Florida, folks, get it? Yes. Okay. Well, what happened at the stadium if I...
Well, they lost.
I'm not going to be surprised.
Well, they lost, but that's okay. And I'll tell you, I admit, I never thought I would see an Orioles team this bad, but it's over. And now it's time to think about the future, which begins tomorrow morning with a press conference to introduce Cal Ripken Sr. as the new manager. The old manager stepped down today after a wonderful career tarnished only by events that were out of his control. When he left in 1982, I thought Earl Weaver would be back. But this time, I think it's really goodbye. No more comebacks for number 4. And so as he sat in the dugout this afternoon for the final time, I felt as if I was a part of the final chapter in the Earl Weaver story. It certainly didn't end the way Orioles fans or Earl wanted it to end, and he'd be the first to tell you that it's been a horrible season. But even at the end, when he could have put some blame on the players for what happened, Earl, like a good company man, said it was his responsibility. He said that these were the players that he picked to play the season, and thus he'd take responsibility.
Be here if the manager didn't select him, and that's why I think all the wins, all the losses are always the manager's responsibility. He writes up the lineup card every day. He goes to the general manager and says, well, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. Naturally, it's the players on the field that are going to win or lose you the ball game, but in the overall picture, we started with 40 people in spring training, and I selected 24 to come back here and perform, and when they don't perform, you more or less have to say, well, I'm the guy that's got them out there, so it's my fault.
Well, Earl, I'm sorry, but I don't buy that. His final game looked a lot like most of the others the last 2 months. Detroit led 2-0, and then Jim Traber hit his 13th home run in the 4th inning to cut the Tigers' lead in half, 2-1. It was 2-2 in the 6th inning when Darnell Coles took Ken Dixon over the fence, and this will be Coles' 20th home run, making the Tigers infield only the second in history to have 4 guys with 20 or more apiece. The Orioles rallied to tie again, but here's what we've grown to expect. Always a mistake. A wild pitch in the dirt, a run scores. The Tigers score 3 runs in the 8th inning and win it 6-3. Now, there's a ball that should have been caught, right? Gutierrez doesn't make the play. You know, people say, what's wrong with the Orioles? Well, you start with the defense, the pitching, the hitting, the throwing, the laying down the bunts. What's left? A major overhaul. That's what's left.